to know a woman that I have met by the name of Miss Rosetta Sanders. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Jodi.
Good. And I met Rosetta in the most amazing way. It was so by accident, really. But it all started out because you have an empty building and I have a bunch of stuff I
Yes.
want to sell. Really, that's how it started. I have consignment clothing, I have old antiques, I have all sorts of stuff. My husband and I are moving back to Medicine Hat, and I just need somewhere to purge some stuff, right? And I'd been really, I don't know, drawn to the railroad station and North Railway Street, and here's this building, and there you are inside of it. So tell us a little bit about this amazing building that you have completely rehabbed on North Railway.
Yeah, so we bought 423 North Railway. It used to be one of the Triple E buildings, so it was for many years. Antiques is what was sold out of there, and then we bought it, completely transformed it.
Totally.
We put new walls on top of the old walls, but there were some things that were really important to us to save, like we thought it was a 100-year-old building, but I guess it won't be 100 for 12 more years.
Okay, well, we'll have a party.
We'll have a party when
day.
it's 100. We will have
Yes.
such a party. So the 88-year-old hardwood floors
Okay.
was, anybody who followed us on Facebook saw that how much time and energy it took to restore those floors.
Okay.
And the whole time I was doing that, saving the floors and thinking about the lath and plaster that was in the walls prior to us, the paneling going up and then our walls going up, I just looked across to the train station. I just kept thinking about what a time that was. Those men spent their entire day with a hammer in their hand. We're using all these power tools to fix things up and put them back, and we had to remove a bunch of this hardwood floor and fix it and put it back in and saved as much as we possibly could. But every piece we took out, and then I had to take out those nails, and I'm looking at them and thinking how old they are, and
Wow.
and just the work. Like, I think that building would have went up just after the First World War or the
Sure.
Second World War.
Sure.
Like, just these men and just all day with a hammer in their hand, and the spirit it would have taken to build those buildings on North Railway. I just love them. I know a history of a couple of them. So
Yeah, well, and that's part of why we want to introduce all of you to Miss Rosetta. It's your husband and yourself that have pretty much single-handedly done that whole rehab, right?
yes, we hired out what we had to,
Yeah.
but we put up the walls, we scrubbed the floors, we sanded the floors. We had to order all the way down to the States for this tool that would take the mastic off, doing the least amount of damage to those hardwood floors, because we
Oh.
really, those things are all
Okay.
important to us.
Well, and that's what I love about meeting Rosetta, ladies and gentlemen. This is a woman who really is an encyclopedia of knowledge. And I know you think, oh, I hope, I don't know if I know it all. But from my perspective, as someone who's interested in the history of Medicine Hat and interested especially in the train station, because in a previous episode, we actually talked to my dad. He came across Canada in that train, right? And probably went right through a train siding somewhere in Medicine Hat to get to Coaldale, Alberta. So those are important things to me. But you have this great knowledge of some of what went on. And I loved what you were sharing one day, that a lot of those stores right there, those would have been warehouses and things, because the railway was right there. And I mean, in my perfect little life, I'm thinking, oh, there would have been a cappuccino bar and candy for sale, right? And maybe not, because this was really the industrial working area. Tell us more about North Railway Street. Tell us more about what you know was life in that area 100 years ago.
Well, what I know is that one of the buildings I was looking at, we didn't purchase that particular building, was 525 North Railway, I believe the address is, was where the first newspaper was printed in Medicine Hat in a boxcar. And the boxcar, at the time I looked at it, was still embedded into the building.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I even named the building. I thought that's where I needed to be. I tried to convince my husband for a long time that we needed to be in there, because I had just taken training at St. John's to be a
Okay.
first aid trainer, and I could do my training in there, and I could share it
Okay.
with my friends Angelique and my friend Lorna, and we could all have our businesses run out of this place. And I even named it Babs because Mr. Braden and Mr. Armour were the two teachers
Okay.
who printed that first newspaper.
my gosh.
But-
So you had this whole vision and your husband
Had
didn't
this
let
whole
you do
vision.
it.
And he kept saying, pointing out that perhaps it wasn't the best place for my new venture. And he was
That's
ever
funny.
so kind, but I
But
still,
you embraced the history
the history.
and all that stuff, and then you just ended up a block or so away.
Yeah, just a block or so away
So
from
it's
the
not bad.
from the Babs, which was then after that it was a shoe store for many years.
Okay.
And they lived in the building, and when you went downstairs, you could see where they lived. And I just love to think about those stories and look around and think. And today oh no, I need a 5-bedroom house with a 2-car garage, and I just can't function. So
And how
then-
differently they did live. I want to hear about the cottage because you just took me upstairs to the cottage. And honestly and truly, that there is a little apartment up there, but I mean, it's like literally a toilet and a sink and a room. Like, and it's not like it's as big as you to me. Like,
Yes,
and
it's-
somebody lived up there at one time, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So the building, we purchased 423 and 427.
Okay.
So 427 has a great history that the Historical Society, some lady just come in one day and started talking to me and was so excited when she drove down the back alley and saw the green building, which we always thought was the addition. And we thought the front part with the 2 stories was
the
there
original.
first. And we're like, who would build a 10 by 23 building 2 stories high? But the cottage was actually there first. It first showed up in any record anywhere in 1905 as the cottage. And it was the first men's clothing store for C.P. Rell.
Oh.
Because we know that Medicine Hat actually was evolved around the South Saskatchewan, the bridge.
Well, not everybody knows this. Don't assume that everybody
No,
knows this.
I
So
didn't know either till I did the...
Tell the viewers, because this is key to how come Medicine Hat actually grew, right?
Yes, it was first started as a village, and it was around the construction project around the train bridge, because that was the only place in the prairies that the train crossed the South Saskatchewan River.
Which is very important.
Such a huge piece of history in Medicine Hat.
Yes.
And then we moved from the village to the town, and that was all around the same time. I'm not good with dates. I just know
That's
that these things
okay,
all happened. So then that was the first CP men's clothing store. And then William T. William, who I guess is a big name here in the people who love the history of Medicine Hat, that he's a big name in architecture. He designed the addition, which is the 10 by 23 with the 2 stories.
Oh my gosh.
So in the upstairs was originally a doctor's office, is my understanding.
Cool. So can you even get to the upstairs from,
Yes,
know?
you have to go from the street side to get to the upstairs.
Okay.
So-
Okay. That's all there. That's the cottage is behind it.
And then the cottage
Honestly,
is the back
we
piece.
should start dressing up Victorian, seriously.
Yes.
And doing little tours, like
Um,
enter at your own risk kind of
Yes,
tours.
yes,
right?
it would have to be under your own risk because as good an architecture as he was, and it's not been cared for the last few years.
Right.
For many years, it was a restaurant, and then most people in Medicine Hat would know it as Chow's Confectionery.
Okay.
And we found so much treasures. I thought they were treasures in the basement. Not everybody would, but old fruit boxes with Chow written on the back.
Written right on it.
Written right on the box.
That is huge.
Milk bottles from back in the day. Mandarin orange boxes lined with newspapers.
Oh wow. So there's a treasure. Just the
Talking
lining.
about Trudeau's economic plan for the future. And
from the first.
yes,
the first
and announcing
Trudeau?
the birth of their 3rd son, like just amazing.
Oh,
But I thought it was just amazing
that
treasures.
is a treasure trove.
And I would pull up and I would show Kevin, and he'd like, oh yeah, that's nice. That's a
And
old
he's busy
box."
making it new.
He's busy trying to make the other one new, and I'm in 427 finding all these treasures
yeah.
in the basement and in the attic. So
Well, I'm excited to hear about what comes in the future between your venue, which is really what the 427 is now? Is that
423.
423 has kind of become just a venue that you or I could do things out of. And you alluded to that a little bit, but let's tell the folks at home a little bit about what you do as a life coach. That's kind of a new thing. Not everybody understands that philosophy, but I think there's lots of us in our world today who maybe find stress and craziness taking over and whatnot, and you just help people find some balance and those kinds of things. Would that be a great way to start?
Yes, that would be a great way to start. I was fairly happy in my life, as most of us are, and then I really wanted that building that I didn't get, that I was so convinced I needed. And then I discovered this technique called emotional freedom technique, which is EFT tapping on the meridian.
Emotional
freedom technique.
tapping. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Emotional freedom
technique. So a lot of
Okay.
people call it tapping.
All right.
So you just tap on the meridian points while you're thinking.
What is a meridian point? I don't even know what that is.
So just tapping on it's the energy systems in the body. It's based on acupuncture.
Oh, okay.
So we all know what
I've heard of.
acupuncture is.
Okay.
So this is gently tapping on the points.
So what am I tapping on right now? Is it going to give me a headache?
This is just
I feel
the,
like I'm
we just
getting
call
a
it the karate chop point. No. And you just talk about, even
Can
though.
you do this while we're talking?
Yeah.
Can you
Even
give
though
me
I
one
really.
to get rid of my headache right now?
Sure.
Which would it be?
Even though I have this terrible headache. You have to say it after me.
Yeah. We're doing it. Okay,
We're doing
what?
it. Even though I have this terrible headache.
Even though I'm having a bit of a headache right now.
I love and accept myself.
I love and accept myself.
Even though I have this terrible headache.
Even though I have this headache.
I love and accept myself.
I love and accept myself.
Even though I have this headache.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I am sort of the other voice in some
Yes.
people's lives. Okay, but this works.
This works.
It works. I
And
mean,
then
it might not.
then I would take you through and you're like, I have this headache, and sometimes it's about, even though I'm so frustrated, somebody cut you off in traffic, even though I'm so frustrated.
Oh,
what you
road
would
rage
do while you were
solutions.
tapping, while you were driving, but
But you could pull over and just let that rage kind of settle.
it's okay. And then it's actually been proven to just relax you, get your blood back from that fight or flight response and back into your prefrontal cortex. Because
Okay, see, she's using all these words. I don't know what they mean. Prefrontal
your
vortex.
decision-making process.
Vortex.
Yeah.
That's not right. Vortex?
Because when we're stressed, our body thinks, oh my gosh, she's stressed. Maybe there's danger. So it takes, it rushes all that to your fight or flight response, your brain. That's what we do.
Okay, so let's just, in normal people language. So, because our brain doesn't know what is actually happening.
No,
it just knows what it's experiencing.
It just knows what's its experience. It knows there's stress.
Okay.
It doesn't know we've evolved and that stress isn't life-threatening. It's
know
just
we've
somebody
evolved,
cut you off in traffic.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
or just that somebody yelled at you or somebody hurt your feelings when you were a child.
Oh
So
my
it just
gosh.
helps.
Okay, just hang on a second. So we
It
went
can
from
go way
driving
back.
down the road,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden the reason I'm reacting like I am is because somebody did something to
Yeah.
me somewhere along the line.
I like to say it's like ketchup. Try it on everything. It won't hurt you.
What?
It's like ketchup. Try it on everything.
Oh, okay. Well, on that catch-up note, you might all be hungry and want to take a little break.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm getting
See,
all over the place.
No, you're awesome. But see, this is what happens is that people come and they teach us new things, but they know it really well, right? And you're obviously, you understand all this, but go eat something like with ketchup on it, if that just, or ketchup chips. See, that's what that triggered for me.
Oh, and we have to tap on that.
We got to tap on that? I'm not tapping on that. Okay, go have a little moment. Go have a little moment and come on right back. And we're going to learn more from Miss Rosetta. Hey everybody, we are back and I'm excited, although I don't know why, I get kind of shaky and stressed, but this is Rosetta Sanders and she's teaching us in kind of a new and exciting way how to deal with everything from road rage to childhood trauma that we don't even know exists in our life, perhaps. And it's all through something you've called emotional freedom technique. EFT.
Right.
All right. So this emotional freedom technique is really something you call tapping, or a lot of people would
call tapping.
And so why this is important to this whole story, back to North Railway Street, is because you were a little frustrated about the idea of not getting this building that you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so you yourself went to a tapping circle.
Yes, I went to a tapping circle. I'm like, this sounds kind of weird, but it's my friend, and I will go
Okay.
support her.
Okay.
I'd met her through other friends, so I thought I'll go support her. She had this tapping circle downtown, and it was $10 drop-in fee. So I went, and I was the only person that showed up.
Not much of a circle.
Not much of a circle,
But
but
it
I
was
got
the two of you.
the two of us. So I got a
Okay.
private session for $10. I got a
Nice.
deal.
Yes.
And I really was going to tap on how frustrated I was that I couldn't have that building that I thought I needed to be in.
Okay, so the idea of EFT is that you start with something, whether
Something
it's like I'm
that's-
worried about my son, or I'm angry at that driver, or there seems to be like some residual kind of unforgiveness towards my great uncle, or like who knows?
Who knows?
But you have to start with
You
something.
start with something.
Okay.
And often something that's bothering you. So I just, even though I would say, she got me to say, even though I'm so frustrated that I really want to be in this building and I don't know how it's going to happen, I love and accept myself. And she got me to say that 3 times.
So did you have to say you love and accept your husband? Because he's the
No.
one that stopped it.
No.
So
It's
it
all
has
about,
nothing to do with anybody else.
it's about me
No
being,
blame game going on.
no blame game. I don't
Really?
get,
That's
you can-
frustrating for me. I want to blame people. That's easier.
You can,
Joking.
yeah. And we do say some, I'll get into some other things later. But
Okay. Okay, so you start out though with the whole idea of it's just accepting who I am in this moment, even though
this is going on, I accept myself.
Okay.
I love myself. I really want this. And then I can,
What are you doing? No, we're not
tapping
doing
on
this
the
anymore.
meridian
Oh yeah,
points.
the
Now we're
meridian
going to all
points.
these points.
Is it like, do you just tap for a second and move on, or do you
About 7
tap?
times and move on. I'm so frustrated.
Just clear your sinuses too.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
under the eye.
I'm not taking this very
No,
serious,
I
but
don't.
I'm
Nope.
just asking the questions others might.
Right under the eye. And then you
Okay.
move under here. And you're like, even though I'm so frustrated,
1 or 2 or 3 fingers, it doesn't matter.
2, doesn't matter. It's not like, it's gentle. And it's, if you use 2 fingers, you're really likely to hit the right spot. If you mess it up, doesn't matter. I tell people, you're not going to explode. It's okay.
I know, the stress starts. So,
The
I'm going to
stress.
do it right. And it's
And
really
then-
simple.
So as you're doing that, you calm down. My blood's coming back into my prefrontal cortex, back into the thinking process of my brain.
Cortex. I was calling it a vortex.
Yes.
Okay, so the
No.
prefrontal
Frontal
cortex,
cortex.
which is important because why?
That's where we make our decisions. That's where we,
So why is the blood not in
Process.
there all the time?
because I was so stressed about wanting that it went back here. I thought I was, oh, they're stressed. There might be danger. We're going to send all her blood to
Oh,
her.
this is like seriously
It's
physiological.
seriously science. There's science behind it.
This is not just ooby gooby
No,
whatever.
no, it's not. So there's actual
Cool.
science. There's lots of science on the internet. Everybody knows about Google now.
Sure.
So I did go
Okay,
there.
so but you do need to know where these are, these spots.
Yeah,
or,
and I can show you. You can come to Circle.
I'll
you can
come
go
to a
through
circle.
it
All right.
all the way.
Okay. And so you were at a tapping circle
Yes,
with a
of one.
one on one, but that's pretty cool too. So one on one, and this instructor, new friend, was sharing how this all works. And did it work for you?
It did. It. She got me to say something my friends have been trying to get me to say for 2 years about in regards to the building. Is
Oh, you've
that
been hanging on to the building dream
Oh,
for
yeah.
2 years.
I got some stamina.
Oh my gosh, though, that's a long time. So you
Yes.
didn't have a building
No.
because you didn't get the one you wanted, and there wasn't like nothing
No.
else was happening at that
No.
point in time. But you were finally able to let it go.
And say this or something better.
Ah,
And the very next day, I found something better.
get out of town.
Yes.
So what I hear you saying is that your own frustration and maybe unforgiveness or whatever was actually keeping you from getting what was better.
Because what was better was on the same block, but I couldn't see it because when I drove down the street, all I saw was what I think I needed, what I think I needed, what I think I needed.
Wow.
So
that's really cool.
it's kind of like your subconscious sees it all, but then you don't see
But
it
you had
because
tunnel vision.
I had
because
tunnel vision.
You had a preconceived expectation.
and so I was seeing there's plenty of opportunities and plenty of things to improve my life out there, but I didn't see them because I had tunnel vision, and the stress of thinking where I needed to be kept me from being where
Isn't
I-
that interesting?
now I think, oh my gosh,
I wasted 2 years.
I wasted 2 years, and I drive down the street and I'm like, not that it's not a good building, but the one I have, I can share with that many more people.
Okay, so it is actually a better building and
It's-
everything. It just doesn't have the box car yet.
No, not yet, but
So we'll just paint up some skid shack.
but I
or
do
something
have one
back
in
to
the
look
window that I bought at a garage sale for $5 that
My dad,
somebody's father keeps
oh
trying
my
to buy
gosh,
from me.
he wants that. Did he try again the last time he was there? He's so cute because it somehow is really reminiscent to him of the train he came to Alberta on, right? From Halifax or Montreal, he said in the last interview I did with him. He actually said they must have taken a boat from Halifax and then a boat to, I don't know, Montreal, because I don't honestly feel like I ever heard that part of the story, which is what's so cool about these conversations. So as much as I know you could tell me about EFT forever, do you have a website or an email address or even a phone number you want to give the folks if they want to hear more about that? Because I really want to hear a little bit more about some of your history, and as we celebrate Canadians, how did you guys even get to Medicine Hat?
Well, the website's easy. It's just rosettasanders.com.
Okay, so that's it?
That's it.
And do you have a number you want to give out or not really?
Oh,
Not
yeah.
everyone does internet.
Oh, yeah, 403-952-5696.
All right, so that's how you're going to get a hold of Miss Rosetta if you want to learn more about this thing that she's all into and how cool that is, because it is cool.
It is.
It is cool. So what does your family think of you owning this amazing, interestingly historical piece of history in Medicine Hat, Alberta?
They're very supportive. My dad's very supportive. He came down and he couldn't work there. He's getting older. He's in his 80s.
Okay.
But, or just 80. Sorry, Dad, you'll be 80 in March. But very supportive. And being across on the train, I think, has got my dad talking about some of the things from his history.
See, that's what I think happens. So what is their history? What does he remember? What do you remember from them?
What I never got to meet my grandfather, Jelmer Johnson. But my dad has just started talking about him recently. And as much as he loved his father, but my grandfather came to Canada from Sweden
Oh, okay.
in his early 20s. Landed, I guess, in Halifax Bay, which is where many young immigrants landed. And he got talking to some fellas and he wanted to make some money.
Okay.
Where can I find a job? I need to make money. He only had like $14 left in his pocket, and he wanted to get to Alberta where he could find a job farming because that's what he knew from the old country. And this fella said, "Oh, you don't need money to get to Alberta. Meet me down at the train tracks in 2 nights at 7 o'clock and I'll help you get to Alberta."
Oh my gosh. So this young guy is probably still looking for a job, but he hasn't found one.
No.
And so he shows up at the train yard,
Yes.
whatever, rail yard.
With this fella he just met called Wilf. And he showed him how to ride the rails, and they rode the rails together across Canada till he wound up in Tees, Alberta somehow.
Oh my gosh, isn't that cool? So was this something that did Wilf end up farming with your grandpa, or who's Wilf?
No, Wilf went on to be a country music singer. His name was actually Wilf Carter.
That is so awesome. Your dad must have just about gotten blown away by the idea that this Wilf Carter guy was the guy that taught him how to literally ride the rails.
And Dad can remember any time Wilf Carter was anywhere in the area that somebody always delivered 2 tickets to the farm that they now had. My grandfather went on to own his own farm, and they always went to all Wilf Carter shows.
Aw,
And
that
it's-
is so cool. I love that. So Wilf didn't forget this young Swedish guy
No.
who showed up on the boat and needed to get to Alberta.
Yep.
That's a huge, cool history. So do you guys love Wilf Carter music? Is that,
Well,
why don't we do a Wilf Carter festival at
We
your
should.
building? Right on North Railway. Okay, then we all have to dress up. Well, the women can still look good. And the men can just be simple, whatever. Like, what would you call that? Like in the 30s, well, Depression.
Depression.
Oh gosh, that's even sadder.
And dressed like people who would just maybe my grandfather stopped at the confectionery or the
we
drugstore.
can make it all up.
We could.
We can say whatever we want to.
Yeah.
Because the history books don't necessarily say exactly how it went. But Chow's was already there?
I'm not quite sure, but
Okay.
there would have been there would have been a restaurant there then.
Okay. So warehouses and restaurants. Okay. Rosetta, let's do it. I'm
Let's do
excited.
it.
Okay. New event for, the summer or something. That's awesome. So from a farm in Tees, I don't actually know where Tees is.
Somewhere around Lacombe. That's what I know.
Okay. All right. So outside of like Red Deer area, somewhere over there. Okay. And to Medicine Hat. How did you get here?
My dad was a welder. We grew up in the Crow's Nest Pass. We kind of grew up all over, wherever. Dad was a welder, and he worked for the United UFA. I can't remember what it stood for, but I just remember all the mail coming.
Fabricators or something?
Yeah, fabricators of Alberta or something. So we moved around a lot, and one of the last places Dad worked was in Medicine Hat. So
you settled here a little bit, and how do you feel about this new part of your life? I mean, we've only got a couple minutes, not even really. What would you say to people who have a dream to do something?
Well, much like that young pioneer entrepreneur spirit that I think brought my grandpa here, even though I never got to meet him, I think that spirit is what gave me the courage and the determination to leave a good paying job and start on my own venture and help other people, because he also did a lot of great things in his community to help.
That's awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps you too have an amazing celebrating Canadians kind of story that you would like for me to share with the rest of the viewership. I think the show is going to go across Canada, because so many of these stories take us literally from east to west and all over the place. But wherever you are in the world, celebrate the people around you, just as Rosetta and I are celebrating the time that we were able to spend with you today. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.